G'day fellas and welcome to a casted game. Spawning in on the south side of the map, playing in the green as the English, we've got Averley, aka Yeleva. He is going to be playing the English on the south side, and damn, isn't this color just absolutely beautiful. I got to be honest, I'm loving these new color systems. Green is 100% my favorite, so if I ever get matched up against Averley, I think there might be a little bit of a fist fight over who gets the green. But spawning in on the opposite side of the map, playing as the purple Rus, we've got Mr. Merlin. If you are unfamiliar with Mr. Merlin, he is a fellow content creator. I'm going to leave a link in the description to where you can catch him, as well as in the pinned comment. I want you guys to check him out because he's an up-and-coming content creator, and I got to be honest with you, I love what he's doing. He puts out a lot of good content, and I'm curious to see exactly how this game unfolds. This one was sent in to me, and I'm curious to see how it goes, just simply because this is a matchup that we do quite often see, however not in the most recent patch. It's something that I guess we don't really see as much as we used to. I say on the recent patch, I'm not talking about the one that's just come in, I mean the one after that. But you can see Mr. Merlin off to a decent start up towards the north. He's cleared up both of these hunts. Now the consequence, something that Mr. Merlin may not have realized, but the consequence of picking up these hunts early is that you subsequently leave all of the juicy stuff down in the middle out. So what we typically see players doing at the top level, you know, your beasties, your marine lords, is they will actually clean up their safe hunts with their third scout, which is coming out now for Mr. Merlin. But he's moving down into the middle of the map quite a bit out here as well. We can see that Averley's done a pretty decent job. He's picked up over, I saw 3 wolves over on this east, or on this west side, one in the middle. He's going to be careful not to lose his scout here. He's going to be running it away, forcing those deer back. You can see him trying to take it out. Scout could be careful here. Averley might not be paying attention. There we go. Picks it up. 6 health on that. Oh, my lord. That is close. Averley, you are playing with fire right there, my friend. Manages to get it out just. Jeez Louise. That was tight. Up towards the north, we hear more wolves being picked up. Averley doing a great job. That's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wolves he's able to take away from Mr. Merlin. So Mr. Merlin going to be sitting on 180 bounty. Never a good amount of bounty to be sitting on if you are the Rus, but does manage to find a couple of deer over towards the west. Over on the east, there is absolutely nothing. You can see Mr. Merlin out here at the moment, just moving forward with that scout. But let's talk about some of the changes that have happened so far in the most recent patch. So obviously the first thing is that we've got the big change to the Kremlin for the Rus. So that's going to mean that they've got a little bit more range on their attacks. They've got a little bit more radius as well. But it looks like Mr. Merlin just going to be going with the Golden Gate today. 5 villagers tapping away at that Golden Gate. Nice and easy for him. Now I'm beginning to move out to the wood line. You can see he's dropping down that lumber camp. 4 villagers out there so far. Down on that south side, though, it looks like it's going to be a wheelbarrow opening for Averley. He's also got that 2-2-2 build going. I say that with 3 villagers on gold. So I don't know whether that's a little bit of a miss macro, whether that's intentional. Maybe he's thinking about getting, to be honest, I don't think there's any other tech that you can get in the first age. Actually, you know what? There is forestry. I got a feeling he's not going to be going for forestry, though, but he's done a great job picking up all those sheep. We'll take a look and see how many he's actually got out here. So 3, that's 3 and 10, so 13, so about half that you would expect on the map. Compare that to Mr. Merlin, though. He's 5 and 4, 9. Obviously, these guys have been through a couple sheep already. But at this point in time, everything going to standard. Nothing too scrappy, nothing too crazy. When it comes to the English, the changes that they've received this patch, I mean, realistically, not a whole lot of changes, mainly to their water. So nothing that really helps them or hinders them here. The big one is obviously that Age 4 landmark, the Wingard Palace. So English now, with their Wingard Palace, going to be able to produce 2 different types of compositions that come out. In addition to that, the Abbey of Kings for the English is now a little bit better. It buffs up the radius, or the radius has now been buffed up. So it used to be 6.25 tiles or something like that. I think it's now 7.5. So another nice little buff for the English, but I don't know whether it's going to be huge. Mr. Merlin now beginning to move out. We see 8 villagers heading down towards the west side. Golden Gate up nice and early, up at about 4 minutes 10 was a decent time for him. Heading out towards the boar, second boar over on the opposite side of the map. So he's got 2 corner boars here, which is definitely what you want against the English. If you go for those central boars, it's going to be really easy for them to punish you. But here in this situation, I would suspect he just looks to kill the boar right here, and then he can drop the wooden fortress, and then drop the hunting cabin and he's going to be perfect because the hunting cabin gets maximum bounty in here. Wooden fortress going to be able to defend, and now we actually see him luring it back. He's still quite a bit away from the villagers. Mr. Merlin, I think he might have jumped the shark here a little bit. He's got to be careful with this scout. It's already going to be on half health. The villager's actually going on. Mr. Merlin, I'm starting to worry about you. Your name's Mr. Merlin, but you're not pulling out any magic today. Forces the leash off that boar. He realizes he probably bit off more than he could chew, quite literally there. But in the middle of the map, we've got a couple scouts that chase back a single scout from Mr. Merlin. We'll head back over to this corner. You can see him luring it back up, trying to get it right up into that corner, and does indeed tank it with the scout. Now he's got to be careful to force it back. It looks like the scout's going to go down. Mr. Merlin, little bit of a mistake coming out early from him. Doesn't lose the villager. He's up to 290 bounty, which is probably where you want to be, but we do begin to see that wheelbarrow coming through. A little bit of an early wall here as well for Mr. Merlin. So looking to play it a little bit more defensive than what you would typically see. 8 villagers as well up here on wood. So quite a heavy amount of villagers on wood. So not your typical Rus opening that you would see where, you know, there's a little bit more of that fast castle orientation, but it's going to be down on the south side of the map. We've got Averley, who is going for that council hall. No surprise there. Plenty of farms around that town center. I gotta say, I love the English. I really love the English. They're such a fun civilization. And interestingly, we see a 3 scout opening here from Averley to try and match what was coming out from Mr. Merlin. So interesting. I wonder if he does this all the time against Rus, no matter the map. Maybe it's just that, because this map's a little bit smaller, so those scouts should get a little bit more value, I say. But then obviously up against the Rus, I mean, their villages are typically very well defended. Mr. Merlin playing very greedy as well. Interesting to note from Mr. Merlin, we don't have any wooden fortress coming out over on this western side, but now Averley going to be reaching the feudal age, 6 minutes 20, immediately drops down a stable. You can see he's working towards a castle age, but to be honest, it doesn't really look like a castle age when it comes into the macro. So he's just playing very slowly. It's going to be double stable out from him as well. Not something that you typically expect to see out of the English in this matchup, especially in this age. You know, if it was a fast castle into double stable monastery, you'd say, yeah, that's pretty reasonable. But I think in this early sort of stage, not the case. Not the case at all. 8th farm, 7th and 8th farm rather, going to be coming in now for Averley, back towards Mr. Merlin's side. You can see it does look like he's going to be going for that fast castle, just going to be a little bit slow on that food count. You can see he's already up towards 560 gold. So I guess the other thing to note is when these villagers do drop off the food, that food is going to skyrocket up. You'll watch as he begins to do it now. There we go. So sitting on 400, now already up to 5. There we go, 600. It goes up pretty bloody quickly, and it'll be up there eventually. Now, it looks like by the looks of it, up towards the north, we do see a wooden fortress getting forced out here from Averley. So very smart moves from him. We talked about this a little bit earlier, the fact that he's gone for these 3 scouts and can look to apply pressure. 8 villagers going to be jumping inside that outpost. Not going to be able to get that second shot off on the scout. Villagers going to be idle for quite a bit of time, so already buying a fair bit of time there. Averley doing the smart things, but now back down to the south side. We're right on board with Averley just for a little bit as those scouts in the backside of the base remain just chilling out for the moment. Double horsemen continuing to move across the map. You can see that we've got some upgrades coming through as well. Horticulture could be coming through for our English player. We'll double check and see. No double broadaxe just yet. Not a lot of villagers on wood. No specialized pick, but obviously has that wheelbarrow. And now going to begin just chilling out at the front, sieging down that fortified wooden palisade. Now, interesting to note, obviously this is up against the Rus. Rus having the best palisade walls there are in the game. Averley doesn't even opt to go around, you know, to the other sides. He's just like, you know what, we're just going to burn through the front. So I think Mr. Merlin has done a pretty decent read here by going into this. The only problem he's going to have is if he's thinking about going into the high trade, is it the high trade house? Yeah, the high trade house, I think it's called. One of the things that he's going to have problems with is that there were those scouts looming. But fortunately, it looks like all those scouts have left the building, and we do indeed have a world record attempt on that high trade house coming in. Now, one of the changes I will note that you can actually see is that the high trade house circle has been designed or has been reconfigured to actually correctly present a radius or a circle as to the trees that it picks up. So you can see the true radius here for the high trade house is quite large. Typically, we were only getting in about here. It was looking, you know, and sometimes you'd be like, yeah, I reckon that's 120, and it'd be up like 280, and you'd be like, what, how? But now it's starting to make a bit more sense. That radius is quite large and in charge, isn't it? South side, though, we do see that those palisade walls are slowly and steadily getting broken through. Only 6 villages here on the high trade house. So going to be going with a triple barracks opening here for Mr. Merlin. Down on the south side, though, we'll check in with Averley and see how he's doing. No real upgrades coming through just yet. Still doing all of those standard things. Looking to try and get a few more villagers on the farms as well. Now up to 13 farms in total. Continuing to funnel out more and more units to this front line. I love the way that he's playing this, very aggressive in the beginning of the game. Doesn't really know too much about what Mr. Merlin's up to, though, in the base. Scout just chilling out in the middle. He's got another scout to the east and the scout to the west. Horsemen beginning to move around. Obviously aware of that wooden fortress. Mr. Merlin going to be spotting out those horsemen and seeing the position that they're coming through. Mr. Merlin now about to hit that castle age. We can see is exactly what he's moving for. Looks like another house is going to be coming down for him. He'll be fine. Men-at-arms going to be coming out in this position. Plenty of horsemen out for his opponent, so he should be able to hold it down. Double wooden fortress on the backside here for Mr. Merlin. Going to guarantee that no villagers do go down. What was that? It kind of looked like a villager did go down there. I'm not 100% sure what that was. But those villagers all going to be safe for the moment. And now Mr. Merlin just going to be pumping out triple barracks. Quadruple barracks, I take that back. Quadruple barracks men-at-arms here. Now, I guess this is kind of dangerous up against the English because the English typically a pretty strong civ when it comes up to countering these men-at-arms. They love to go into knights as a pretty standard thing for them in the castle age. Obviously, also love to get out those crossbowmen. Very easy for them to do it. They've got to throw down an archery range, but they get a lot of bonuses against them, a lot of defensive bonuses. Most notably, they get that attack speed increase. But infantry now moving out. Averly going to be on the defensive. He falls back for the moment. That scout did go down. It looked like it was on hold position, and unfortunately, Averly wasn't paying attention, so must have missed the call out. But now on the backside, we'll check in Mr. Merlin. Looks like 279 on that high trade house. Not a bad bounty, or not a bad amount for that. And keep in mind, it's going to potentially push him towards that bounty eventually. Villagers going to be jumping inside that outpost, firing off down towards it. Now remember, there's no Abbey of Kings here, so any damage that comes down on these horsemen, it's going to stay there for life unless we've got some monks that come out and look to try and repair those bad boys up. But a lot of horsemen now coming out as well for Averly. He's looking very good. Economy just popping off. Triple stable in this early game for him. This is really something that you don't see a lot of. Now, one of the other things I will mention is just this camera angle. I'm loving it. I mean, we're up very high at this point in time, but I feel like I've got a very clear view of the battlefield. Take a look at Averly compared to that. You know, he's got just a little bit of line of sight, but hey, we can see absolutely everything. Even when it comes to the scouts, we get every single thing in our view. So that is absolutely beautiful. But up towards the north, we see another raid coming in. Averly looking for these villagers. Ideally, Mr. Merlin would love to get a wall up across here. This would guarantee that he's not going to be falling victim to these raids back and forth. We see those villagers, 4 of them running back. A lot of low health on them. He's not even rallied them towards the wooden fortress. Going to be losing out all 4 of the villagers. They do go down. A couple spearmen going to be looking to shore up the defenses, but unfortunately, the damage has been done. Mr. Merlin now going to be behind on that villager count. We could start to see that there's warrior monks out on the map, and he looks like he might be rallying towards the middle. Let's double check and see where he's going. Indeed, he's going towards the middle. So Mr. Merlin going to be looking to apply some pressure. Down towards the south side, though. Everything for Averly at this point in time just continues to move forward. He might be thinking about a bit of a castle age at this point, it seems. Up towards the north, though. Raids continue. He's popping in from either side and just looking to try and keep Mr. Merlin in his box. But you can see Mr. Merlin definitely intent on potentially pushing out. He's actually gone for a double blacksmith here. Not something that you see outside of the deli very, very often. So some interesting openings here for Mr. Merlin. And we do see that sacred site now being captured for Mr. Merlin. So he's going to be coming out in this position, looking to try and take out the sacred site in the center. And the question is whether he's going to be able to hold it. And I definitely think he will be able to hold it for the moment. There's a lot of units out for his opponent, but realistically, nothing to really challenge the men-at-arm as well as the spearman combo. He can try and fight up this hill. It's going to be difficult for him, though. That's the big factor, is because the men-at-arm is going to do effective up against the longbows, and then, of course, the spearman going to be very effective up against those horsemen. We do now see the King's Palace coming down, though. Averly going to be looking to get up to that castle age. We do see that now Mr. Merlin is approaching Sacred Site victory. Ladies and gentlemen, get your timers out. We are putting our timer down, so it's going to be, 23 minutes and about 40 seconds, I think it was. That's where I'm going to go with 23 minutes, 40 seconds, I think that one was. But obviously, you know, the technology is just simply not there in 2022 for us to know exactly how long it's going to be. But that's when my time is going to come out for 23:40. Get your timers out, get your pog champs out, and now up towards the north, Mr. Merlin under attack once again. He is struggling here. There's a lot of horsemen coming out for Averley in this position. Mr. Merlin just looking to shore up the center here. Things getting really tight at this point in time because we do see Averley has now reached the castle age. He's going to be on 2 TC, looking to try and build it. But you got to remember, in this position, and we do see double archery range coming down, as we sort of alluded to earlier, where it's going to be crossbows that are coming out. But I guess the big factor here is that for the English, they're sitting on double TC, and they scale. But the problem is they're on a timer. And we can see exactly what Mr. Merlin's doing. He's beginning to do what you would expect him to do. And this is where the patch, you know, we talked about this. We said, look, it's highly likely that what's going to happen is instead of people going for keeps, what they're going to do is just spend their stone on sprinkled emplacements. And what do we see Mr. Merlin doing? We see him dropping wooden fortresses, and we see him dropping those sprinkled emplacements. So obviously he's got infinite stone in the form of the Golden Gate. But the reality is if stone is going to be one of those resources, it's a little bit more limited. And you can see very clearly from his intent that it is just to secure up this central sacred site and really solidify this position. But Longbow's moving in, going to be able to pick off a villager or two. We can see that there's a couple of villagers here. They do go down. 2 more remain. He's going to be looking to try and take up that last wooden fortress. But 4 of these now held for the moment. Not a little bad amount. Horseman number's still looking pretty heavy at this point in time. So it's going to be... How many horsemen have we got out here? 20 horsemen, as well as 15 veteran longbowmen. So at this point in time, a decent little mass, but we now see the Siege Workshop coming up, which is the correct play, and needs to be for those... needs to be for trebuchets. And the reality is more villagers can get pulled out here for Mr. Merlin. He can look to try and out-heal these trebuchets in the event that they do come out. But the big factor here is that it's going to take so long for those trebuchets to come out. Remember, our timer was about 23 minutes 40. I think that was roughly it from my estimations. But okay, second Siege Workshop comes out. I can respect this. Now, this is the last thing to change this up is that we need to see more villagers transferred from the mills onto the wood lines, because there's not going to be enough wood to support all of these all of the trebuchets that you want to make. And you can see he's got, look at that, 7 horsemen in queue right now, and food is not the limiting factor. The limiting factor is wood. So it's going to be tough for him to find the power to get these siege units, these siege weapons out. Up towards the north, it looks like a boar is going to get taken out by Averley. Very curious decision there, going for the boar, but obviously makes sense when you're playing up against the Rus. And now over on the west side, we do see Mr. Merlin has moved forward and begun to take out some deer of his opponent. More men-at-arms continuing to come in. Wooden fortresses looking to solidify this position in the middle. Sprinkled emplacements coming out. And obviously, we talked about this a little bit earlier. The fact that sprinkled emplacements, or actually, you know what? We didn't talk about this. I talked about this in my patch notes. Sprinkled emplacements have changed. So they've got a faster attack speed, but they do less damage. So what does that mean? That means that they actually do more damage to units that have got low armor, but they do more, but they do less damage to units with a higher armor, because they're attacking more often, kind of like the Chukunu, so more frequent attacks, but less powerful attacks. Now I'm starting to worry. Averley building up a pretty decent mass here. Now going to be able to get that first trebuchet out. I feel like the timer that he's on here is really starting to begin building. Now, obviously, we're going to have gongs soon. When our gongs go off, that's when things are going to get serious. We'll take a look at how Mr. Merlin's doing. Oh, apologies there. Didn't mean to give you guys the dark. He's doing really well. He's chilling out for the moment. Things just banging on in the middle. The Siege Workshop comes out for Mr. Merlin. Most likely just going to be some springalds here. Back over towards Averley, and we do see that first trebuchet going to be coming out. Now for Averley, he's got that outpost up. That's going to provide him line of sight, and he's got the scout nearby as well, which means he's going to be able to target down these buildings. He's not going to have to use the attack ground, and we do see the first shot. Now, trebuchets have changed their animation. You can see the boulder nowhere near as high as it used to be. I love that new boulder. Let's see if we can get a little bit of a sideways shot here. I'm going to head into the cinematic mode as well. Have a look at this one. We got a much better boulder trajectory. You know what? I don't know. Is that a better boulder trajectory? I think it is. Did you guys see that? As soon as the outpost or the wooden fortress was completed, it was on fire. You just never finish it. That way it never goes on fire. But with that, looks like the outpost or the wooden fortress will be going down with the next boulder. But he's obviously got quite a lot to work through here. So plenty of wooden fortresses, 9 at the moment, well, 8 realistically. One of them still not built, but we now begin to see walls coming up for Mr. Merlin. It's almost like he's a little bit scared of a potential run by. So he's beginning to wall up the rest of his base. Makes a lot of sense here. When you know that your enemy's got the cav numbers that he's got, it just makes sense. But Averly now going to begin with that second trebuchet. We do see more siege workshops coming out, more stables coming out of everything. I feel like I really want to see a market come down from Averly. He's got plenty of gold in the bank here. It would just make sense for him to look to try and sell a little bit of that or trade in a little bit of that gold. But look at that trajectory. We got to get one more look on that. That is just that it really looks a lot better now that I think about it. You don't have these stupid high arcing boulders that eventually land. It looks a lot more realistic. I feel like I'm watching Lord of the Rings. But speaking of Lord of the Rings, the Springald going to be coming out now. I don't know why that's got anything to do with Lord of the Rings, but Springald moving forward. No Springald's out for his opponent. Averly going to be facing this almost unopposed, or rather, Mr. Merlin going to be facing it unopposed. And look at that. One attack coming in, second attack coming in. Springald just dishing out damage. Gonna have to be forcing those back. Looks like Horseman gonna be moving forward. Springald not in a good position. Gets forced back, but you can see the power of just a single Springald in that position. More than capable of defending against the triple trebuchets. And the consequence now of being the defender is that, or being the offender, is that you're going to need Springalds now to counter your enemy's Springald. So it's very difficult because now we've got 2 Springalds coming out as well. When it comes to Springalds, it looks like they're doing 100 damage a pop with 125 health. That means that they're going to 2-shot each other. So 2 is going to be your critical number here for your Springalds. At this point in time, Averly just continues holding for dear life. Obviously, Mr. Merlin, by the same token, he's just fortifying the position. More Springalds in queue at this point. Needs to add in another another lumber camp. Also needs to add in a house. He spent all of his wood here on the front line on wooden fortresses instead of housing. We've got the gong. 3 minutes until Sacred Site victory. So yeah, 23 minutes and 40. It looked like 41 seconds. I'm going to go with. So it's imminent. Let's just put it that way. But we do see more Springalds now beginning to come out. He's decided to build a house. He's got 3 Springalds at this point in time. Back over on the other side, we can see Averly yet to even go for any kind of Springald. So the timer's starting to run down. Yet to push in, yet to make any real progress. And when we look here, I mean, Mr. Merlin's just got this entire Sacred Site fortified up. 40, 40, 40, 40, 40. There are so many Springalds here. And this is exactly what we suspected. We said, you know what? There's not going to be any keeps anymore. You're not going to see keeps. You might see keeps in the back of the base or something to defend a raid, but you're not going to see keeps on the front line. Not in the way that you used to. You might see one, but it's probably going to be a landmark keep. Trebuchet, got to be careful here. Trebuchet, going to be under attack. Oh, Springalds decided to shoot off in another direction. A little bit of a run by over towards... Oh my lord, that is a bit of a run by. I think we might have a bit of a contention here. 63 of your finest horsemen. 2 minutes until Sacred Site defeat. Averly going to be looking to try and push the issue over on this east side of the map, beginning to push up, looking down upon those wooden palisades, and there's 3 landmarks here for him to take out. Number 1, the Golden Gate. Number 2, the Town Center. Number 3, the High Trade House. Mr. Merlin, nowhere near enough resources to even think about a 4th landmark at this stage. Is always a potential option, but he's just enforcing that central position, and now he's going to realize it. He's going to see all of those horsemen over towards the east side of the map, and he's going to react necessarily, he's going to react accordingly. Let's go with that one. But you can see he's just completely focused here on the front line. Is not even paying attention to the backside. Hasn't moved the spears back yet. He's just mauling all the trebuchets. Meanwhile, in his base, look at the amount of horsemen that are running in right now. Veteran horsemen looking to try and take this game. We have got ourselves, how many minutes? Less than 2 minutes to go before this game is a victory. But Averly may have caused his run to go a little bit late. Spearman now coming into the base. Mr. Merlin going to be realizing Spearman heading back. Men-at-Arms pushing forward. 1 minute until Sacred Victory. We got 22 minutes and 41 seconds. So we need 23 minutes and 41 seconds. That's going to be it. The Town Center now going to be under attack. We can see the Spearman doing a pretty decent job of surrounding. He's got villagers on the backside. They're also going to get taken out. Mr. Merlin trying to hold on, but the problem's going to be at the backside here. He needs to get all villagers up to this position. He's got plenty of wood in the bank, I say. He's going to need to do some trades here. He doesn't have the high trade house, though, so he's not going to be able to do it. Town Center going down. He's continuing to hold that Sacred Site in the middle. How long does he have? He's got another 30 seconds to go. 30 seconds to go on that Sacred Site. It's absolutely clear. He's now moving back towards... It's going to be the high trade house. Town Center going to be going down. Indeed, it does go down. It's going to need a full repair on that. And now all of Averly's units going to be moving back. He's got 60 horsemen here. The question is going to be whether he's going to be able to do it in time. It's a bit of a base race, but I don't think I've ever seen one before. He's got 10 seconds. 9, 8. It's going to be 7, 6. Oh my god, this is going to be close. He's burning it down. It's going to be really close too. What? Oh my god, it's going to be the same frame. Look at him go. Evely gets knocked out. The game goes to Mr. Merlin. The game goes to Mr. Merlin with that Towns. I can't believe it. It is a ludicrous game on this exact same frame. Fellas, if you've enjoyed this game, make sure you check out Mr. Merlin's YouTube channel. Might have been a bit slow in the beginning, but I tell you what, it heated up towards the end.